On Thursday, January 26th of 1989, Tamara McCallister and Roy Jeffrey Stoddard, her boyfriend, they had gone out to do their usual kayak trip. They both would take a single kayak. They would go from Glenmore and they would go out to Paradise Cove, which is about a 1.5 mile trip and back. And they decided to take this same trip. They arrived at the beach. Beachgoers had noticed that they were on the beach and they were eating muffins and having coffee in the morning. So before they went out, they had their coffee and breakfast on the beach there, jumped in their separate kayaks, and made their way out as they were heading to Paradise Cove. Sometime before 10 o'clock in the morning, probably around 9-ish, they had left. Roy Jeffrey Stoddard's kayak had a slow leak, so his buddy said there's no way they would have gone anywhere further than to Paradise Cove and back because he had this slow leak in his kayak. As they leave, the weather is nice, there's not high waves or anything, and there's reports that around 10:30, 10 o'clock, there's choppy waves coming up, and that will explain what's going on. So they go out and they're never seen again. 10:15 comes around 10:15, a person that lives near the point where they have to go around to make it to Paradise Cove, they reported that they saw some commotion in the water. A large fish is splashing around and everything. Not a report of the kayaks or the two people, just some commotion out past the waves. It sounds like it was quite a distance from shore, but they weren't sure what was going on. We're not sure if that was the time that Tamara and Roy Jeffrey Stoddard were attacked. So the two disappear and they start a search to go out and look for them. The next day, on Friday, they find Tamara, they find her body, and it was a fishing charter boat that went ahead and saw them. It was either that or a yacht, but the people on the boat saw her body floating in the water, contacted authorities, and they came out and got her. When they got her body out, she had the largest bite was to her thigh, and it was a 13-inch wide bite. So a pretty wide bite. If it was a great white, you're talking probably a 10-footer or something around there with a 13-inch bite. If it's just the front of the teeth, and it didn't have the whole width of it in there. And then there was 5 other smaller bites. So she was bitten 6 times by sharks. No telling how many different sharks might have bitten her, but she was out there floating for a day, and it sounds like the shark that probably hit her kayak ended up biting her in the thigh. But right now they just found her body, and she's got the chunk out of the thigh, 6 other bites to her body, or 5 other bites to her body, and she obviously passes away from the attack. The next day they find the 2 kayaks, and this starts to put the pieces together because they're tied together with a rope. And this is why some of them think that the waves picked up as they were still in their trip, and the 2 tied their kayaks together to make sure they wouldn't get separated or lost or somebody pushed out to sea, I would think. Now, what they don't know is what happened to Roy, who is never found after this. So the shark ends up, Tamara McCallister has damage to her kayak. It sounds like in the back of the kayak, it came up and bit the back of the kayak and put 3 slices in the kayak itself, and that must have flipped her out of her kayak. And the rare thing here, shark attacks, they say, are rare. What's rare is for a shark to bite somebody after they knocked them out of a kayak like this, and the shark bit her. Now, whether it's that same shark, I guess we'll just have to assume. But what the story is what was Roy doing when he was taken? Because he would have been in his kayak. Some of the theories were that it hit the front kayak, he was in the back, or he was in the front and it hit the back kayak and it jolted him around and made him knock himself out, maybe fall into the water. I don't think that's the case. I think he went into the water, seeing the shark, went and attacked Tamara. So I think he entered the water to go help his girlfriend. I think that's the most logical thing that happened, but we'll never know. This is like one of those deals where you don't have a survivor to be able to tell you exactly what happened. So we just have to go by what we see happen. But she has damage to her kayak. They were tied together. He ends up in the water somehow, and he's the one that's taken. So a shark took a big chunk out of her thigh at one point, and he's taken away by a shark. I would assume this is the same shark that attacked her kayak that took him away, and like I said, I think he probably entered the water to help her, and he ended up being victim that was taken away, where they both ended up dead from the same shark. And she probably more than likely was bitten by other sharks as she floated around for the next 24 hours. They never did find Roy Jeffrey Stoddard. They found both the kayaks. They found Tamara McCallister. And like I said, we don't have the actual confirmed facts of what led to him disappearing after she got the bite to the leg, even if that bite to the leg happened before she disappeared. It's just a strange situation. And like I said, with the two kayaks tied together, that would say that the weather had picked up on them and they didn't want to be separated, and whatever ended up happening to both of them. When most kayaks that are attacked by a shark, the shark never touches the person. They'll look right at them. The one gentleman knocked out of his kayak, he ends up in the water and he's looking at the shark is facing him. He says, the shark has to come at me and it's probably going to bite me when it does. Well, the shark just turned and went the other way. So most of the time with the kayaks, and a lot of times, especially almost all the time off of the east coast, the west coast of the United States, they don't want anything to do with boards either, people that are on boards. So kayaks and boards get treated differently. They're more like boats than with attacks on people that are in the water. And these kayak attacks are the ones where it's almost unheard of for the person to be bitten when they're knocked out of the kayak. Most of the kayak bites happen when the people are fishing with their legs sticking over the kayak, like the gentleman in there's a gentleman that tiger shark came up, he had his legs in the water, he was fishing in the morning, almost afternoon by that time, and the shark bit him like up in the shin and did dragging, so it scraped the bone clean down to the foot, removing the foot, and he ended up passing away. So when you're attacked in a kayak and you're bitten, it's usually you got something hanging out of the water, and that's what ends up bitten. To be bitten when you're knocked out of the kayak, almost never heard of. I've gone over I don't know how many we've gone over, and this is the first one to where the thing actually bit the person. So a very odd case, a very strange case, and just wondering what actually took place with the two tied together kayaks, where both of them ended up fatalities from a shark. We got this down as an attempt to predate, and a predation on Roy Stoddard, not an attempt to predate on Tamara McCallister, two fatalities, and I believe I might have it down as a great white shark. So that's the attack on Tamara McCallister, 24 years old, and her boyfriend Roy Jeffrey Stoddard. And if you go into that water, always remember, you are much more afraid of these sharks than they are of you.